The voicemail arrived at 2:14 a.m., and by the time Eli Carter finished listening, he knew two things were true at once. Someone wanted him quiet, and someone had finally made a mistake. Eli was a records runner at the Franklin County Courthouse, the kind of job people forgot existed until something went missing. He fetched files, logged boxes, scanned exhibits no one planned to read again. The judges didn't know his name. The attorneys called him Kid. He wore thrift store suits and kept his head down. That's how he survived in a building where power moved like a current and the smallest fish learned to swim sideways. The voicemail was short. No threats, no names, just a calm voice saying, "You did what you could. Let it go." Eli didn't delete it. 3 months earlier, justice had been promised in the case of State versus Holloway, a hit and run that killed a night shift nurse on her way home. The suspect was Daniel Holloway, son of real estate titan and campaign donor Victor Holloway. Evidence was thin, but the timeline worked. A damaged bumper, traffic cameras that blinked off for 8 minutes, a witness who recanted after remembering wrong. Eli had been tasked with archiving the discovery. That's when he noticed the gap. A body cam clip listed in the index but absent from the drive. An evidence receipt signed twice, then voided. He flagged it, quietly, the way you're taught when you don't want attention. His supervisor smiled thinly and told him not to worry about it. He worried anyway. Late one evening, while scanning old boxes for an unrelated appeal, Eli found a duplicate drive mislabeled with last year's date. On it was the missing clip. Grainy, but clear enough. A silver sedan with a cracked headlight. A license plate that matched Holloway's. A driver who slowed, hesitated, then accelerated. The nurse's shoe spinning. Across the road like it couldn't decide where to land. Eli's hand shook. He copied the file, logged it properly, and sent a note up the chain. The next day, the clip was gone again. By Friday, Eli's badge failed at the door. HR said his position was under review. By Monday, the prosecutor announced the case was dismissed for lack of evidence. Cameras flashed. Victor Holloway thanked the system for its integrity. The nurse's family stood behind him, small and stunned, while justice dissolved into procedure. Silence was delivered. Eli tried to speak. He emailed the internal compliance office. He called a hotline that rang forever. A friend in IT warned him off. "You don't win this," she said. "You disappear." The voicemail came a week later. Eli did what underdogs do when they are told to vanish. He documented everything. He printed logs. He wrote down dates. He stored the clip on a drive he mailed to himself, sealed and stamped, then left unopened in a drawer. He reached out to a journalist named Nora Pike, known for patient stories that took months and ended careers. Nora listened. She verified. She filed public records requests that came back heavy with black ink. She noticed donations that lined up with dismissals. Judges reassigned without explanation. An assistant DA who took a job with Holloway. Development 6 weeks after the case died. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. It didn't roar. It crept. A long read. A timeline. Screenshots. By noon, social media caught fire. By evening, the governor promised a review. The nurse's family spoke again, this time without Holloway in the frame. Power shifted, just enough to be felt. Victor Holloway denied everything, of course. He smiled and called it a smear. He hired better lawyers. He sued Nora for defamation. He suggested Eli was confused, disgruntled, looking for relevance. Someone leaked Eli's old traffic ticket to a blog that loved small scandals. Eli watched his name become a question mark. Then the unthinkable happened. A judge ordered the evidence logs produced. The duplicate drive surfaced in the official chain, stamped and dated. An independent lab confirmed the clip's authenticity. A grand jury was convened. The courthouse hummed differently after that. Doors closed faster. Conversations dropped to whispers. An assistant clerk resigned. A prosecutor took leave. Victor Holloway stopped smiling. Eli testified behind a microphone that squealed when he leaned in. He spoke plainly. No speeches. No accusations beyond what paper could prove. He said what he saw and what disappeared. He didn't look at Holloway. The indictment came on a Thursday. Not for the hit and run, yet, but for obstruction, evidence tampering, influence peddling. The room exhaled. Justice, delayed, finally had a pulse. Outside, Nora hugged Eli. "You did it," she said. Eli didn't answer. He felt the old instinct stirring, the one that warned him this wasn't over. That night, his apartment door stood ajar. Nothing was taken. The drawer was open. The envelope lay untouched. On his phone, a new message waited from an unknown number. "Careful. You're standing where silence used to be." Eli forwarded it to Nora. She replied with a single word: archive. The next week was a blur. More names surfaced. A retired judge, a consultant, the assistant DA's emails. Holloway's company stock dipped. Sponsors fled. The nurse's family filed a civil suit with teeth. Then, quietly, the governor's review narrowed. The scope shrank. The language softened. Procedural failures, it said. No systemic wrongdoing. Silence, trying to return. Nora called late. "They're sealing something," she said. "A supplemental report. I can't get it." Eli checked the logs. Old habits die hard. He saw a file number he recognized. The duplicate drive. The metadata showed a new access time. Someone had opened the envelope. He drove to the courthouse at dawn, heart pounding, and found a notice taped to the records office, closed for maintenance. Inside, lights burned. A familiar figure stood at the counter, Eli's former supervisor, holding a box. "Go home," the man said gently, like a favor. "You've done enough." Eli raised his phone. "I'm recording." The supervisor smiled without warmth. "So are we." By noon, the story flipped. A press release accused Eli of mishandling evidence, of unauthorized duplication, of compromising the chain. The grand jury paused pending clarification. Victor Holloway's lawyers called it vindication. Eli felt the ground tilt. Then Nora published again. Not the clip, she didn't need to. She released the logs showing the envelope opened after the indictment, the access badge used, the time-stamped camera footage of the maintenance crew arriving early. The pause ended. The indictment expanded. Justice surged back, rough and imperfect, but real. That evening, Eli sat on his couch, exhausted, watching the news repeat his name with new adjectives. Whistleblower, witness, catalyst. None of them fit. He was still a runner, still carrying what others dropped. His phone buzzed once more. A final message appeared, shorter than the last. "There's another drive." Eli stared at the screen, breath caught between relief and dread. If there was another drive, then the truth was bigger and the silence louder than he'd imagined. Justice had been promised. Silence had been delivered. And somewhere, the system was deciding which one it would take back next.